Welcome back to the Valley today. Liquor establishments in Fargo now have an opportunity to avoid a penalty for a failed compliance check if they agree to use a forensic ID scanner at their business.
These scanners check the authenticity of IDs with the goal of stopping underage drinking and preventing minors from using fake IDs to purchase alcohol.
City commissioners voted unanimously yesterday to amend Fargo Municipal Code in order to allow a liquor establishment to have their first $500 failure penalty waived if they agree to use an ID scanner for 6 months after the offense. This law change was recommended by the Fargo Liquor Control Board.